It's October 7th, 2024, and this is the Watson Weekly, your essential e-commerce digest. Today on our show, Lightspeed exploring strategic alternatives. Loop creates offset return feature. CVS conducting a strategic review. Travis Hess named new BigCommerce CEO. And finally, the Investor Minute, which contains 5 items this week from the world of venture capital, acquisitions, and IPOs. But first, in our shopping cart full of news, Lightspeed exploring strategic alternatives. Lightspeed, a major POS player and serial acquirer of a number of smaller retail-oriented startups, announced it's exploring strategic alternatives for the company, meaning it's generally looking to get acquired and trying to solicit interest and ideas for pieces of the company that other entities might find interesting. While Lightspeed does not get a lot of industry press, it looks to me that this company will have serious options. Let's start at the beginning from their last financial report. They're growing at greater than 25% year over year, and revenue should cross $1 billion this year. Just to use a comparable many might be familiar with, they're about 3 times BigCommerce and growing about twice as fast. This is the biggest reason options will exist. The company also has $45 million in adjusted EBITDA, and this is expected for 2024. This is the second biggest reason. When you combine these two, there will probably be multiple bidders. What does Lightspeed have? The biggest items are a POS that works across industries, New Order, which is the exclusive wholesale buying platform for Nordstrom's, and it works with others like Macy's, The Bay, and Saks. Ecwid, which is a long-running, smaller market e-commerce platform. I'm not really sure what the value of this would be in the transaction. Shopkeep was purchased some time back. Likely this went into their POS stack for smaller businesses. And then Vend, which is Asia-Pacific-based company with e-commerce omnichannel operations. Yeah, this is a little bit of a dog's breakfast, and there are major assets here with important retailers and brands involved. The right partner could have some raw materials to work with here. What are the options? Well, some options might be to take private by private equity. Vista Equity and others would be likely. Vista Equity owns Kibo Commerce, which seems like an interesting fit. The company could merge with another player. Salesforce, with its recent acquisition of PredictSpring, is off the table, but it's possible they could merge with someone like a BigCommerce as part of a larger transaction, which potentially now needs a core POS partner. Adobe could use it to expand into POS. Intuit might also be interested in the POS. They're currently partnered with Shopify. BigCommerce has indicated that they're not selling. Well, of course, unless there's a great offer. If Vista plus another capital partner is involved, you might have Kivo, Avalara, BigCommerce, Lightspeed, and don't forget, Vista's also invested in Klarna, which gives it an advertising affiliate and payment assets. Combining assets does not yield success, and personally don't believe it would change the fundamental dynamics of the Shopify BigCommerce Salesforce relationship, but private equity could make money here. The reality is, even the biggest Shopify boosters must admit that Shopify needs great competition to move it to new heights, and there is a lack of great competition out there. With the right operator, this could be a serious player in the mid-market, if not enterprise. Our second story, Loop creates offset returns feature. To help merchants claw back some of the costs of not only returns processing, but also its own software, Loop has introduced an offset returns feature which charges a small fee upfront for a purchase in order to have a free return later. This is similar to other products like Redo and other returns platforms that have introduced this in the last year. The difference is, Loop is much bigger. For the consumer, it's like a call option on a free return. Given that even on Amazon, many consumers have now become accustomed to paying for returns, Loop reports that 60% of its merchants charge return fees. This is not a junk fee. It's a hard business cost that must come from somewhere. Speaking of fees, it's hard not to mention the broader economic trend of increasing fees for consumers, not just in tips, which is requested everywhere. Why? And the fact that in many restaurants post-COVID, new quality of life fees have been instituted, which one hopes somehow benefits the restaurant employees. Regardless, offset feels a little different to me. Here are a few thoughts on the program. With vendor consolidation and trading down in the software market becoming more prevalent, software that provides not just a premium service, but also pays for itself is doubly appreciated. By any metric I've seen, Loop is a leader in the returns market by a wide margin. For them to innovate on their core business model like this shows a degree of comfort with experimentation and risk that is not really that common in the software world. I've often wondered why services like Shop Pay or PayPal did not pay their own merchants back in some way for helping build their consumer networks. One can dream, right? Also, consumer fees and checkout are common in the cross-border space. Having spent some time at Border-Free, it was common to charge currency conversion, duty drawback, or parcel protection fees for the convenience of cross-border transactions. The model where the buyer is charged was widely copied in the cross-border market beyond this. Like all software settings, uptake of the offset service likely depends a lot on the default nature of the fee. Loop reports 80% uptake of the feature. I can't imagine that would occur if it were not the default. The delta between someone's return rate and shipping and the breakage of those who adopt offset but never use it can then be used to fund the return software itself, as well as defray returns shipping costs for the buyer. Anyone online knows the friction that can come from a returns experience. A smaller fee up front preventing a large fee later, I do believe can be a win for both sides, consumer and merchant. The only question is, if the fee is enabled by default, is that a dark pattern? Could that affect the feature in the future? Also, in my mind, Offset has some hints of a parcel protection program without the sliminess that can come with a feeling of insurance programs, especially since consumers are under no illusion any longer that returns are free forever. The value is real, and so are the discounts. Our third story, CVS conducting a strategic review. In the news the last week, CVS, a major pharmacy and convenience store, seems like they're trying to review their business. And some of the things I think about this transaction is I was like, what is CVS? Well, CVS is essentially Minute Clinic plus kind of like a Walgreens. Well, Walgreens is in the crapper, let's be honest. When you try to shop there, it's been my feeling that Walgreens is kind of a hellscape. And so if you have hellscape plus Minute Clinic, then that combined is still hellscape. And so it's not too surprising to me that the board is conducting a strategic review to try to separate the hellscape from, I don't know, you tell me, the growing and profitable revenue streams that could come from healthcare technology, taking care of patients, profitable services, all these things. And CVS has been making acquisitions in the space. This is all not surprising, so we'll look for more to CVS in the future as part of this strategic review. And our last story, Travis Hess named new BigCommerce CEO. You can kind of feel this coming in the last few years. It's been clear that at some point Brent Bellum would step down and find a designated hitter to lead the company. And also, former BigCommerce president Stephen Chung was hit by a pitch. Travis Hess then stepped into the on-deck circle. Now we welcome Travis as BigCommerce CEO. Batter up. First, the human side. Congrats to Brent and Travis both on their transition and new roles. But the take. You say you came here for the take. Well, here it is. It could be too late. And there's a lot more work to do if it's not. My feeling is if BigCommerce doesn't reignite growth in the next 12 months, its options could seriously diminish. The company could easily be sucked inside a larger software company in a best set of bad options choice. Potentially a larger POS player is one of them, ERP, CRM, or other big software. Why ERP and CRM? It is and will be core to B2B in the future in a way that's not common in a consumer-oriented setting. There could be a happy path, however. The low-hanging fruit path to glory over the next 2 to 3 years for Travis is simple. First, stop development on business to consumer. It's mostly not working anyway. I'm sure they're getting some Shopify refugees after the Shopify Plus prices went up, but that's not a business model. The company is potentially losing ground and not gaining it. Second is, the company needs a couple of very key strategic partners, i.e. not TD Bank, in the above 3-letter acronym spaces. In other words, ERP, CRM, other big software companies that now become the default choice when you need a commerce front end. BigCommerce can be that for them. You need multiple of them because, well, when you sell the business, The only way to get maximum value is to have a bidding war. You can't just have one partner. The next point is actually to get real close with those partners, like kissing cousin close. I'm from the South, you guys forget. Fourth, later on, these companies need to get hitched formally. Merger, acquisition, take private, you get the idea. And then finally, Cowboy Travis rides off into the sunset, ready for his next rodeo. I can't see Travis being around here for over 5 years, and so I would predict some kind of timeline where either the company finds the best strategic partner and it's going to have to grow into that model. The reason growth is important is to give them a better valuation at the time some kind of merger, take private, whatever it is that's going to happen, eventually happens. But you knew there was a but, right? Even this happy ending would involve some degree of lucky breaks. At this point, Shopify is already increasingly being positioned as a generational company as well as a consumer brand. And the mainstream SMB and mid-market business-to-consumer use case is pretty much locked up. Barring obvious mistakes, which, they can happen. Shopify has been known to be distracted by shiny side quests. Side quests, that's what we call them before. Shopify also does have serious enterprise risk, and I think it involves payments. Even today, I promise you, talk to 50 people, poll them all saying, how does Shopify work with Adyen and Braintree? How does Shop Pay fit in? What are the limitations? Am I charged more or not? I guarantee you'll get at least a dozen different answers. So there's an issue there. Finally, Shopify is investing in POS, but I'm not sure they're going to progress beyond mid-market POS. Enterprise POS is much, much trickier than e-com penetration on the order of swapping out your warehouse management system or your ERP system. People just don't do those things very often. And so if Shopify thinks that enterprise sales cycles are hard for e-com, it's going to be doubly or triply disappointing to understand enterprise sales cycles for POS systems. Hello, Micros and IBM, I see you. Winning a platform war for BigCommerce involves bringing superior focus to a value proposition, even against a greater force. If you didn't know, BigCommerce's 2023 R&D spend is $84 million and shrinking. Shopify's 2023 R&D spend is $1.73 billion. Holy shit, they spend that much money on R&D? And growing. Yikes. In short, BigCommerce must place an asymmetric bet if it's going to thrive against those kinds of odds or be relegated to one of the dozen or more niche platforms everyone out there kind of knows, but then half remembers. Oh yeah, that company is still kicking around. What's an asymmetric bet, and what do I mean by that? An asymmetric bet essentially means a couple of things. Number one is you have to place a bet that everyone thinks is wrong. If it's an obvious bet, then the outcome is not that interesting because everyone else is doing the same thing. Second, they need to go all in on it. I used to follow Bill Gates a lot growing up in my software career, and he used to say that everyone needs to have a bet the company initiative every couple of years to refresh the brand. And you can see over its career, Microsoft did that many times with DOS, Windows, Office, all these things. BigCommerce needs a bet the company, and if this doesn't work, we may not be in business for longer, but that's how it's going to get the outsized outcomes that investors are looking for. The only necessarily degree of credibility that BigCommerce has right now is in B2B, but it needs to actually innovate in this segment different than what others are going to do. On the direct-to-consumer side, even if the company remains generally neutral and plays the neutral payments angle, it seems unlikely that the company is going to cross the enterprise business-to-consumer chasm to make up for any Shopify payment risks that exist. So, to Mr. Travis, here's some honey and apples for the new year. Shana Tova, don't eat too much of them. The road is long and difficult ahead of you. It's that time, friends, for our Investor Minute. We have 5 items on the menu today. First, Augmoto raises $5.3 million to scale out-of-stock wearable technology. Real-time inventory tracker wearable maker Augmoto has raised $5.3 million in seed funding that will be invested in brand and retailer pilots. How does this help retailers battle out of stock and get stock back on shelves? Second, Lego brick sorting service Sort a Brick secures 1.5 million euros. Lego box sorting circular service Sort a Brick has raised 1.15 million euros in venture funding to launch their service in Germany in 2025. Who doesn't love a service that sorts old Lego blocks and repackages them with missing ones to create toys with a second life? Does this scale? And what's their relationship with Lego? That seems like a risk. Third, Lucky Energy closes $11.75 million in Series A funding. Lucky Energy, a better-for-you energy drink, has raised an oversubscribed $11.75 million Series A funding round that will be used to invest in marketing and strategic partnerships and accelerate retail growth in 2025. How many energy drinks do we need in such a highly competitive sector dominated by incumbents? Also, is there any more useless word in the English language than the word oversubscribed? Asking for a friend. Fourth, PepsiCo agrees to buy Siete Foods for $1.2 billion. PepsiCo has entered a definitive agreement to acquire better-for-you Mexican-inspired products maker Siete Foods for $1.2 billion. PepsiCo continues its healthier snack strategy with its acquisition here as consumers pay more attention to what they're eating. Or maybe they're not, they're just all taking Ozempic. But who would have guessed that in 2024, PepsiCo, Mars, JM Smuckers would spend billions on acquiring companies when consumers are trading down? And finally, retail data platform Crisp raises $72 million Series B. Retail data platform that connects brands to retailers, Crisp raised $72 million in Series B funding that will be invested in its technologies, new partnerships, and new hires. Data accuracy is a challenge for everyone who has worked in commerce. How does Crisp enable less food waste? Did you know that RMW Commerce has a brand new podcast? Check out the Watson Weekend for an unfiltered and lively e-commerce chat each week with me, Rick Watson, my co-host Jess Lasewski, and an array of interesting guests and topics, all focused on e-commerce. We even have Nick Kaplan with the Kaplan's Corner. You can find the Watson Weekend by searching for it on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. That's all for this week. Till next time, Watsonians. Hi, I'm Rick Watson, CEO and founder of RMW Commerce Consulting and host of the Watson Weekly podcast, your essential e-commerce digest. Our production partner for this series is Citizen Racecar. The show is produced by Jose Baez. To hear new episodes of the show every Monday morning, subscribe now at rmwcommerce.com/WatsonWeekly and wherever you get your podcasts.